There's a moment when she looks at you differently. That instant when her eyes linger a second longer, her body subtly turns towards you, and something in the air shifts. You can feel that electric tension, that silence charged with possibilities, that primal sense that something important is happening between the two of you, even if no one else in the room can perceive it. Most men react immediately by trying to be more than they are. They speak louder, tell more exaggerated stories, try to impress with achievements or possessions. They try so hard that they end up suffocating that magical moment under an avalanche of unnecessary words and gestures. And just like that, in a matter of minutes, that spark of genuine interest fades, replaced by polite tolerance. But there's another response, one that few men understand. A response that doesn't require effort, but presence. It doesn't demand more words, but more authenticity. It doesn't demand impressing, but expressing something you carry inside that you rarely show to the world. In the next 28 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what that something is that makes a man genuinely irresistible, but which, when mishandled, has destroyed countless relationships. By minute 8, you'll understand why everything you've been taught about attraction is completely backward. At 15 minutes, you'll learn the exact technique to activate this power in 3 specific situations. And at 22 minutes, you'll master the complete system that transforms the way you relate to women forever. Attraction isn't pursued, it's released. Magnetism isn't faked, it's awakened. If this resonates with you, hit like now and let's continue together. Imagine for a moment that a monster lives inside you. Don't take that literally, but as a metaphor for that primitive, powerful, instinctive part of you. The part society taught you to shackle, to hide, to deny. But that inner monster isn't your enemy. It's your most authentic power. And the paradox few understand is that women can sense it, even when you yourself have forgotten it. Let me explain exactly where the problem most men face today lies. The fundamental mistake they make has nothing to do with pickup techniques, clever lines, or seduction strategies. It's much deeper and simpler at the same time. The average man believes that to be attractive, he must eliminate any dangerous aspect of his personality. He becomes predictable, safe, and completely harmless. He perfects his social mask, follows all the rules, and responds exactly as he's expected to. The result? He becomes utterly boring. Reliable? Yes. Desirable? Rarely. On the other hand, the strategic man understands that excessive safety kills desire. He maintains that element of mystery, that sense that there are parts of him yet to be discovered, internal territories that beg to be explored. It's not about pretending, but about allowing more primitive and authentic aspects of his personality to surface. The consequences of completely suppressing your inner monster go beyond the romantic. In the short term, you become the safe option, the man she feels comfortable talking to about her problems with other men. In the medium term, you enter relationships where you are appreciated but not truly desired. And in the long term, you wake up in a life where you've been valued for your utility, not your essence. This problem has deep roots in our psychology. From a young age, we are taught that our most basic impulses are dangerous and must be controlled. Society rewards those who best hide their nature and punishes those who express it openly. The conditioning is so effective that most men end up completely identifying with their social mask, forgetting that it is not their totality. It's like a lion raised in captivity that has never run free. It may have all its instincts intact, all its natural strength, but it has forgotten who it truly is. And the saddest part? The lioness can sense that something fundamental is missing in him, even if he doesn't know it himself. The average man tries to impress with what he has achieved or what he owns. He talks about his job, his car, his travels. He shows photos, tells elaborate anecdotes, casually mentions how much he earns. The result? He communicates insecurity disguised as confidence. The strategic man, on the other hand, impresses with who he is, not with what he has. His presence communicates more than his words, and his authenticity is more magnetic than any possession. Truly irresistible men don't need to prove anything, because they have made peace with their inner monster. Perhaps you found yourself in situations where you did everything right, according to traditional advice. You were kind, attentive, sent consistent messages, planned elaborate dates, and yet, something just didn't click. Or maybe you recall that time when a woman seemed initially interested, but over time her enthusiasm waned, turning into mere courtesy. Or that recurring pattern where relationships start with passion and end in a predictable routine where desire simply evaporates. You might even remember moments where you were completely yourself, unfiltered, and generated an intense attraction you weren't even seeking. Or that feeling that women respond more to your presence when you're least trying to impress them. It's like a light switch. Most men desperately search for the switch, pressing random buttons, when in reality the switch is inside them, not in external techniques or artificial behaviors. The contrast is revealing. When a man is disconnected from his inner power, he can do everything correctly and still generate little interest. When he is connected to that power, even his mistakes prove magnetic. The truth no one tells you is that the greatest attraction doesn't come from what you do, but from what you allow yourself to be. But the hidden cost goes beyond rejection or a lack of romantic interest. Every time you deny that essential part of yourself, every time you shackle it to appear more appropriate, something inside you withers. Your confidence is built on artificial foundations that require constant maintenance. Your personal satisfaction diminishes because you live by playing a character. And most painfully, you attract relationships based on an incomplete version of yourself, guaranteeing that you will never truly be seen or valued for who you really are. But identifying the problem is only the first step. Now I'm going to show you exactly what to do, step by step, to awaken and properly channel that inner power that all women can sense, even if you yourself have forgotten it. The core technique you must master is called authentic presence. It sounds simple, but it has depth. First, you need to recognize when you're operating from your automatic social mask. You feel that slight tension in your chest, that constant monitoring of your words, that sense of acting rather than simply being. That's the crucial moment of awakening. Then, you reconnect with your body through 3 deep breaths, feeling the weight of your feet on the ground. This anchors you in the present. Next, you allow your responses to emerge naturally, without filtering them for what you should say. Finally, you maintain that state of authenticity without falling into the opposite extreme of impulsive or uncontrolled behavior. Most people act from a fear of rejection, with nervous, compensatory energy. You must act from your center with calm, contained energy. The difference isn't subtle, it's completely transformative. He who seeks approval repels. He who expresses his truth attracts. Imagine you're in an important work meeting. The room is full, the tension palpable. Someone questions your proposal in front of everyone, with that slightly condescending tone meant to establish dominance. Everyone watches, awaiting your reaction. The average man immediately gets defensive. He speaks faster, his voice rises slightly, he gesticulates more than necessary. He tries to justify every aspect of his proposal, offering explanations no one asked for. The more he talks, the more it seems he's asking for permission to exist. The room perceives this. The questioner has achieved his goal, to establish hierarchy. But you maintain your posture, you breathe deeply. You look the questioner directly in the eye, without hostility, but without submission. You allow a few seconds of silence, that space most people fear. And then, in a calm but firm voice, you say, "That's an interesting observation. What specifically do you propose?" You're not defending yourself. You're redirecting the energy, showing that you don't need to justify yourself. The result is immediate. The dynamic shifts. The room feels that subtle but powerful change. The questioner must now provide answers, not just criticisms. You've shown your inner monster in a controlled way. That part of you that isn't afraid of conflict, that doesn't apologize for existing. Because true power doesn't scream, it simply is, and everyone can feel it. Now take this same principle into a romantic context. You're on a first date. She asks that question that seems casual, but is really testing your boundaries. Why did your last relationship end? The average man internally panics. He fears appearing like the villain, so he constructs a diplomatic, generic answer. It just didn't work out, we had different priorities. It was a mutual decision. His body language betrays his discomfort. His tone seeks approval. He's trying to seem like the nice guy, forgetting she's heard that answer hundreds of times. You, on the other hand, allow that uncomfortable silence to exist for a moment. You don't shy away from the tension. You inhabit it. You look directly at her, and with complete composure you say, "I ended the relationship because she crossed important boundaries for me. It was painful, but necessary." Your tone isn't defensive or aggressive. It's simply the truth expressed from your center. In that moment, something changes in her gaze. She's not just hearing your words, she's feeling your presence. You've shown that you're not afraid of judgment, that you don't need her approval. You've revealed a part of your inner monster, that ability to set boundaries, to value yourself above momentary comfort. He who fears judgment will be judged. He who lives his truth will be respected. In the digital context, where there's no body language, this principle is amplified even further. She sends you that ambiguous message, that last-minute cancellation, that cold reply that most men would interpret as a signal to try harder. The average man responds immediately with lengthy messages, elaborate explanations, desperate attempts to keep the conversation alive. Every message communicates, "Please don't reject me. I can be whoever you want." You, on the other hand, respect your value. You don't respond from need or fear. Maybe you wait hours or even a day. When you do reply, it's brief and authentic. "Understood. Let's do something when you genuinely have time." Or simply, "No problem. Have a good week." And most importantly, you mean it. The result? She feels that energetic shift. You're not playing games. You're honoring your truth. You've shown your inner monster digitally. That part of you that doesn't chase, that doesn't beg for attention, that values its own time and energy. On social media, he who chases approval loses it. He who expresses authenticity magnetizes it. But pay close attention now, because there are 3 dangerous traps when applying this. The first mistake is confusing authenticity with impulsivity. This happens when you express every thought or emotion without any filter, believing that's being real. Result: erratic behavior that generates distrust, not attraction. It seems like honesty, but it's actually a lack of self-control. The correction is simple. True authenticity consciously chooses what to express. It doesn't just vomit everything indiscriminately. Second mistake: falling into artificial indifference. Many men, upon understanding the power of not chasing approval, go to the opposite extreme, feigning complete disinterest. They do this because they fear showing vulnerability. But this attitude creates emotional distance, not genuine connection. To avoid it, remember that not being afraid to show interest is just as powerful as not being afraid to show disagreement. Third mistake, the most subtle and dangerous: believing your inner monster is only aggression or dominance. This error is treacherous because it reduces your power to a single dimension. Your true power also includes authentic vulnerability, genuine passion, and even the ability to show pain without shame. If you notice that you are only expressing a limited aspect of yourself, immediately broaden your definition of authenticity. This works perfectly on the surface, but there's a deeper, almost invisible level that separates those who apply these techniques occasionally from those who incorporate them as second nature, completely transforming their personal magnetism. Here's the counterintuitive insight that will change your perspective forever. The real monster isn't your wild, instinctive, or powerful side. The real monster is the mask you've created to hide it. Everything you've been taught about attraction and relationships is built on a fundamentally flawed premise. Society has told you that to be accepted, to be liked, to be chosen, you must dominate that primitive side, control it, suppress it, until it disappears completely. You've been taught that civilization is built upon the denial of that part of you. But when you look closer, you notice something strange. Men who perfectly follow those rules, who never show a glimmer of that inner fire, who are always appropriate, rarely awaken genuine desire. They are respected perhaps, but not intensely desired. And this completely contradicts the official narrative about what makes a man attractive. The profound truth is exactly the opposite. What makes a man irresistible isn't the absence of his inner monster, but the conscious integration of that energy into his complete personality. And this changes everything because it means you don't need to acquire anything new, but rather reconnect with something you already possess, but have learned to deny. When you understand this, you can't view relationships the same way. Your inner monster isn't a wild beast that will destroy everything in its path if you release it. It's more like a powerful wolf that has been domesticated into an apartment dog, forgetting its essential nature. It doesn't need to be eliminated or released without control. It needs to be remembered, honored, and integrated. True attraction isn't born from what you add, but from what you stop repressing. Let me tell the story of Miguel, a successful executive who came to my practice frustrated by a recurring pattern. At work, he was respected, even feared, for his determination and clarity. But in his personal relationships, he transformed. He became complacent, always available, afraid to express disagreement. "It's like I'm two different people," he told me. Through our work, Miguel discovered that he had created an artificial division. His power and assertiveness were for work, while in his personal life he believed he had to be always kind and accommodating to be liked. The result? He attracted women who initially felt safe with him, but who eventually lost interest or, worse, began to treat him with a lack of respect that he allowed out of fear of losing them. The transformation began when Miguel understood that his inner monster, that assertive, powerful, and clear part, wasn't his enemy in relationships, but an essential ally he had been repressing. He didn't need to be two Miguels. He needed to be one complete, integrated Miguel. Have you noticed how people respond differently when you stop trying to control their perception of you? Observe how the dynamic changes when you're not afraid to express an honest disagreement. See what happens when you set a clear boundary without hostility, but without apology. The same pattern repeats in professional, family, and romantic contexts. Think about that time you were completely in your element, doing something you excel at, without worrying about impressing anyone. Do you remember that feeling of being completely present, not dividing your attention between what you were doing and how you were perceived? Did you notice how that complete presence was magnetic to those around you? That happened because, for a moment, you stopped repressing your power and simply expressed it naturally. The most powerful attraction happens when you stop trying to be attractive. So, how do you truly internalize this? How do you go from intellectually understanding it to living it in every interaction? The transformation begins with a fundamental shift in perspective. Instead of viewing your most primal aspects as something to control or hide, you begin to see them as sources of authentic power. You no longer interpret others' discomfort with your authenticity as a sign to back down, but as a confirmation that your presence has impact. You stop measuring your words to gain approval and begin to speak from your truth, accepting that not everyone will resonate with it. Before you thought, "How can I make this person like me?" Now you ask yourself, "Is this person compatible with who I truly am?" Before you modified your behavior based on external reactions. Now you act from your center, observing those reactions with curiosity, but without allowing them to dictate your expression. When you have truly integrated your inner monster, you begin to notice clear signs. You no longer feel that knot in your stomach before expressing an opinion that might cause disapproval. You don't experience that urge to immediately respond to messages or calls for fear of losing interest. Criticism no longer destabilizes you. You receive it with genuine curiosity instead of defensiveness. Situations that once caused you social anxiety now seem like opportunities to express yourself authentically. And most importantly, the relationships you attract are no longer based on who you pretend to be, but on who you truly are. The level of mastery is reached when this integration stops being something you do and becomes something you are. The man who has mastered this doesn't need to remind himself to be authentic. Authenticity has become his natural state. He doesn't confuse authenticity with impulsivity, nor assertiveness with aggression. He has found that point of balance where his primitive power is present but refined, accessible but controlled. It's not about taming the monster but dancing with it. Now that you understand this fundamental principle, it's time to transform this understanding into a practical system. I'm going to give you 3 specific tools, a 7-day action plan, and the critical traps you must avoid to fully integrate your authentic power. The first tool is called body anchoring. Basically, it's a technique to reconnect with your body when you find yourself operating from your social mask. You use it specifically when you feel that internal disconnection, that social autopilot, or that sensation of acting rather than being. Here's how it works in detail. First, you identify the physical sensations that indicate you are disconnected. Tension in your chest, shallow breathing, a contracted posture. Then, you take 3 deep breaths, bringing your attention specifically to the base of your spine and your feet in contact with the ground. Finally, you subtly expand your posture, taking up a little more physical space. For example, when you feel like you're talking to impress rather than to express, stop internally, breathe, feel the weight of your body, and then continue from that centered place. The effect is immediate. Your voice changes, your presence amplifies, and people respond to that authenticity without even knowing why. The second tool is strategic silence. This is a practice of conscious containment that breaks the pattern of automatic reactivity. You use it when you feel an urge to fill silent spaces, when you feel judged or questioned, or when you receive messages or comments that trigger your insecurity. It's implemented like this. When you feel that impulse to respond immediately, take a deliberate pause. Internally count to 3 before speaking in in-person conversations. In digital communications, wait at least an hour before responding to messages that trigger reactivity. Maintain calm eye contact during that pause in face-to-face interactions. For example, when someone asks you a question designed to provoke or judge you, instead of rushing into a defensive answer, create that space of silence. Allow the tension to exist, and then respond from your center, not from your fear. The result completely transforms the power dynamic in the interaction. The third tool is unfiltered expression. This practice involves identifying specific moments to express your complete truth, without the usual filter of, how will this be received? You use it to break patterns of complacency, in moments where you would normally repress your real opinion, or when you feel that internal pressure of an unexpressed truth. Here's how it works. Identify a truth you've been holding back out of fear of rejection or conflict. Find an appropriate moment, ideally in person. Express that truth directly, but not hostilely, without justifications or excessive explanations. Afterward, observe the response without attachment to the outcome. For example, instead of agreeing to plans you're not genuinely excited about, clearly state, "I'd prefer to do something different this weekend." No apologies, no elaborate explanations, just your truth. The immediate impact might be uncomfortable, but the respect you generate long-term is transformative. He who pleases out of fear loses respect. He who expresses his truth gains power. Now I'm going to give you a surgical plan for the next 7 days. It's not theory, it's a specific action protocol. For the first 2 days, your sole focus is the body anchoring tool. Don't try to implement everything at once, just this. Every time you notice you're operating from your social mask, and this will happen at least 5 times daily if you're attentive, apply the 3 anchoring steps. Identify the disconnection, breathe deeply, and subtly expand your posture. No matter the context, at work, with friends, at the supermarket, with your family. What you'll notice. On the first day, you'll feel an uncomfortable awareness of how much time you spend disconnected from your authenticity. On the second day, you'll start returning to your center more quickly. Initially, you'll feel strange, as if you're doing something wrong by fully occupying your space. But after several repetitions, you'll feel an inner calm that proves magnetic. People will start making more eye contact with you, interrupting you less. Pay special attention to how your voice changes when you speak from this centered place. On days 3 and 4, you add the strategic silence tool while maintaining the body anchoring practice. Now you're working with 2 tools simultaneously. When those moments of tension arise where you would normally rush to explain, justify, or fill the silence, you not only anchor yourself physically, but you also consciously allow that silence to exist. Practice especially during moments of disagreement or when you feel you're being evaluated. The combination creates a powerful effect of conscious presence. Here the game visibly changes because you're breaking automatic patterns of social response. You'll notice a shift in your level of social anxiety, a transformation in how others respond to your presence, and primarily, a new dynamic in your romantic or work interactions. If you feel discomfort by allowing silences to exist, you're on the right track. Adjust the duration of pauses according to the context, but never completely eliminate the practice. Days 5, 6, and 7 are for refinement and integration of the third tool, unfiltered expression. Now you operate with the complete system. Situations of physical disconnection, body anchoring, moments of tension or evaluation, strategic silence, opportunities to express an uncomfortable truth, unfiltered expression. In some situations, you'll apply all 3 tools in sequence. Specifically observe how people's responses to your presence change, how your own internal reactions to conflict transform, how power dynamics in your relationships evolve. Adjust the intensity of your expression based on the feedback you receive. If someone seems overwhelmed by your authenticity, don't retreat completely, but modulate the intensity. At this point, you'll begin to feel an internal coherence you may have never experienced. It's not imagination. It's the measurable result of living from your center rather than from your periphery. And this is just the beginning of the transformation. But pay maximum attention now, because there are 3 critical mistakes that can sabotage all the progress you've made, even if you perfectly implement all three tools. Mistake number 1. Confusing authenticity with cruelty. It seems like brutal honesty, but is actually uncontrolled emotional release. This happens especially when you finally start expressing yourself after years of repression. The indicator that you're falling into this is if you feel a vengeful satisfaction from speaking your truths, immediate consequence, alienation from important people, long-term consequence, regret, and a return to patterns of repression. The specific correction is to ask yourself before each difficult expression, am I saying this to liberate my truth or to punish, hurt the other person? Mistake number 2, transforming authentic presence into a new performance. This happens when the techniques become mechanical, a new mask instead of a genuine expression. It primarily occurs after seeing initial positive results. The sign is that you are more focused on the effect you are creating than on your internal experience. Consequence, although externally you seem more authentic, internally you remain disconnected. To correct it, constantly return to the bodily sensation of presence, not the conceptual idea of authenticity. Mistake number 3, the most subtle and dangerous, believing your inner monster must be constantly visible. This error arises from the excitement of rediscovering repressed parts of yourself. It leads you to express your power in situations where authentic vulnerability would be more appropriate. The warning sign is when you feel you must maintain an image of a powerful man at all times. The correction is to understand that true integration includes knowing when to show strength and when to show vulnerability, from a place of authenticity, not strategy. True masculine power doesn't need to constantly prove itself. It knows when to reveal and when to contain. And before we finish, there's something crucial I need to share with you. Something that defines whether you'll truly incorporate all of this or merely consume it as another interesting idea. Let's recap, but not as an academic summary. I'm going to give you the 4 pillars that now define your new way of relating to the world and to women. First pillar, the real monster isn't your primitive and powerful nature, but the social mask you created to hide it, that invisible prison that keeps you disconnected from your essence and makes you seem like everyone else. Second pillar, authentic presence is cultivated by reconnecting with your body, allowing strategic silences, and expressing uncomfortable truths without hostility, but also without apology, creating a natural magnetism that requires no effort. Third pillar, real transformation happens when you stop seeing your power as something to control or hide, and begin to consciously integrate it into every aspect of your life, fundamentally changing your relationship with yourself and with others. Fourth pillar, the complete system combines body anchoring, strategic silences, and unfiltered expression into a daily protocol that reconfigures your presence, making your authenticity your natural state, not a technique you apply. These 4 pillars aren't motivational theory. They are the practical architecture of your new way of being in the world. The mask separates, presence connects, the integrated monster transforms. Now comes your challenge, and it starts exactly today. Within the next 24 hours, not tomorrow, not next week, within the next 24 hours, a situation will arise where you would normally repress your true response. It could be at work when a colleague takes credit for your idea, in a conversation with friends where everyone agrees with something you don't, or in an interaction with a woman where you would normally try to impress. When it happens, and you'll know exactly when because you'll feel that pressure in your chest, that urge to conform, I want you to apply the full sequence: body anchoring, strategic silence, and unfiltered expression. Not a diluted version, the complete version I've shown you. You don't need to announce that you're trying something new. You don't need to explain your behavior. That's the beauty of this approach. Simply reconnect with your body, allow that uncomfortable silence to exist, and express your truth without unnecessary filters. Because when you do, 3 things will happen. You'll notice an immediate shift in the energy of the interaction. You'll feel an internal liberation that will surprise you with its intensity, and you'll confirm through direct experience that your authenticity is more powerful than any technique you've learned. This is your test moment, your chance to prove to yourself, not to me, not to anyone else, to yourself, that this isn't just another theory. It's a transformative practice. And after you do it, come back here and tell me specifically how the dynamic changed. I want to know exactly what you said and how your internal feeling transformed when you did it. And now, the password. Comment exactly this, word for word. The tamed monster is irresistible. This isn't just a comment, it's a declaration, it's a code. It shows that you didn't just watch 28 minutes of video, but that you truly understood the essential message, that you're not part of the majority who consume and forget. You are part of the integrated, those who have begun the path of reconciliation with their authentic power. This is our password, our recognition protocol. I will read every comment, and I will know exactly who understood the deep message and who just skimmed over it. Comment now. And since you made it to the end, there's something I intentionally didn't mention. In the next video, I'll show you the principle of conscious polarity, which connects directly with what we've discussed today, but from an angle that will completely transform your understanding of masculine-feminine attraction. It involves understanding why the very qualities that make a man irresistible are precisely those that can destroy a relationship if not handled correctly. And it explains why 95% of modern relationships fail, not due to a lack of love, but a lack of polarity. But that's a topic for the next video. Subscribe now and turn on notifications. The next video will be out in exactly 7 days. Remember the monster metaphor I mentioned at the beginning? Now you understand that it's not something to eliminate or something to unleash without control. The real work isn't to tame the monster until it becomes harmless, nor is it to unleash it to destroy everything in its path. It's to consciously integrate it, give it a place of honor in your life, allow its power to flow in a controlled yet authentic way. You are not an uncontrolled predator or a domesticated pet. You are a complete integrated man, aware of his power and responsible in his expression. The monster is not killed or released. It is integrated, honored, and directed. Now go and remember who you really are.